Biblical scholar E.W. Bullinger writes that as to the significance of 13, all are aware that it has come down to us as a number of ill omen. It occurs first in Genesis 14:4, where we read that 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and the 13th year they rebelled. Hence it stands in connection with rebellion, apostasy, and revolution. It was when America was made up of 13 colonies that its rebellion against England occurred. 13 leaves in the olive branches, 13 bars and stripes in the shield, 13 feathers in the tail of the eagle, 13 arrows clutched in its talons, 13 letters in the phrase E pluribus unum on the ribbon, 13 stars in the hexagram above the eagle's head, the 13 levels to the pyramid, and 13 letters in the phrase Annuit Coeptus, said to mean God has prospered. Some believe the phobia about 13 comes from the Last Supper, where supposedly Judas Iscariot was the 13th person to arrive and then later betray Christ. Kabbalists say 13 represents man's ability to go beyond the zodiac, to ascend above the stars of heaven. With this in mind, consider this phrase inside the Library of Congress: "Too low they build, who build beneath the stars." For Kabbalists, the number 13 is not unlucky, but refers to their concept of God. The word Shekinah represents the manifestation of God's glory. It is taught that the Shekinah glory of God shone in Solomon's temple when it was first dedicated. But in the Library of Congress, we are faced with an interesting puzzle, as we find these words painted on the wall: "The true Shekinah is man."
Contemplating the United Nations got me thinking about national symbols. Consider the UN flag as a symbol of nations coming together in peace. As I already mentioned, the map is divided into 33 sectors. It seems appropriate that the Earth is flanked by 2 olive branches symbolizing peace. Each of these branches contains 13 leaves. The UN flag is cyan in color and was created after the UN was chartered in 1945. In 1947, the UN decided to partition Palestine into a Jewish state, an Arab state, and a UN-administered Jerusalem. This decision led to a series of wars, and ultimately Israel's independence in 1948. The coat of arms of Israel is also cyan in color. It seems appropriate that the menorah is featured, because it's been a symbol of Judaism for almost 3,000 years. The menorah is flanked by 2 13-leafed olive branches symbolizing peace, another parallel with the UN flag. There are many countries whose flags and coats of arms feature olive branches symbolizing peace. However, only the UN emblem and the coats of arms of Israel, the United States, and the U.S. Virgin Islands feature olive branches having exactly 13 leaves. The U.S. Virgin Islands coat of arms is a modified version of the Great Seal of the United States. The flag of the United States of America also features significant numerical symbolism. There are 13 red and white stripes.
Arthur Balfour, do you remember that name? We've used it before. Who was a member of Hort's Apostles? You remember Hort? This is the professor that helped to produce the Greek text that changed the emphasis of the Bible and removed many of the aspects of Jesus Christ's power and sovereignty from the Word of God. And the apostles were the secret society that functioned and at that time, and Hort was a member, as well as Arthur Balfour. Hort called this group a Senior Apostles Club, as well as president of the Psychic Research Society, Society for Psychic Research, soon became Prime Minister of England, Arthur Balfour, and instrumental in the First League of Nations. So this Prime Minister was also, of course, active in the writing of the original charter of the League of Nations, much of which formed the basis for the United Nations. He not only headed the Society for Psychic Research, holding seances at his home, but he initiated a group called the Synthetic Society, whose goal was to create a one-world religion. That's a very interesting point of history. And he invited a certain Frederick Mayers of the Society of Psychic Research to join.
Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion, one of the great founders of Israel. Recorded in an astonishing article in Look magazine, Ben-Gurion predicted that a one-world system presided over by Jerusalem will be set up in the near future. All continents will become united in a world alliance at whose disposal will be an international police force. All armies will be abolished, and there will be no more war. In Jerusalem, the United Nations, a truly united nations, will build a shrine of the prophets to serve the federated union of all continents. This will be the seat of the Supreme Court of mankind to settle all controversies among the federated continents as prophesied by Isaiah. Ben-Gurion's vision of Israel and dominion of the world is identical with the vision of the great harlot ruling the nations, as given in Revelation 17.
When the Dajjal is released into the world, he would live on earth for 40 days. One day like a year, one day like a month, one day like a week, and the rest of his days like your days. That when the Dajjal was in a day which is like a year, Britain was his headquarters. And when the Dajjal moved to a day which is like a month, the United States of America became his headquarters. And finally, when the Dajjal is going to be in a day which is like a week, he comes back home to the Holy Land. He comes back home to the Holy Land.
The Security Council chamber is the emergency room of the UN, where decisions involving economic sanctions and military action are sometimes made. Notice the horseshoe-shaped desk surrounding 13 chairs located at a rectangular table in the center. The red chairs flanking the central group are arranged in rows of 13. All these lucky 13s are reminiscent of the many 13s on the Great Seal of the United States. The mural in the Security Council chamber is by Norwegian artist Per Krogh, and it contains some highly interesting symbolism. The left arched panel shows a woman opening a window, letting in rays of golden sunlight. The right arched panel shows a man letting a white horse run before the full moon. Sun and moon are symbolized in Masonic lodges by the columns Boaz on the left and Jachin on the right. Boaz and Jachin originally stood in Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. Boaz symbolizes the sun and Jachin the moon. The Vesica Pisces shape in the center of the mural contains the story of original sin. Young Adam and Eve stand in the background. Lucifer, hanging from serpentine vines in the tree of knowledge, hands Eve the infamous apple. Years pass, and Adam and Eve are shown with arms interlocked, closer to the center of the Vesica Pisces. In time, their firstborn Cain is shown in the foreground at his parents' feet. You have to look closely to perceive it, but there is a faint circle representing the sun surrounding the Vesica Pisces. Tiny flames can be seen emanating from this circle, which carry through 4 of the mural's panels. Here the sun, or sun, emerges from the center of the Vesica Pisces, or womb. The bird below the Vesica Pisces is a phoenix, standing over the ashes of its parent. The phoenix is a symbol of transformation and of the cyclical nature of time. Herodotus recorded the fact that this mysterious bird has ancient Egyptian provenance. There is a sacred bird called the phoenix. I have never seen it myself except in pictures, for it is extremely rare, only appearing, according to the people of Heliopolis, once in 500 years, when it is seen after the death of its parent. The beast of war is shown slain in an underground crypt, run through with a sword. The abandoned artillery, machine gun, and soldier laying down his rifle show this is the end of the Second World War. The UN was chartered at the end of this conflict in 1945, and therefore the war imagery is entirely appropriate. Souls, or shades in between life and death, literally in monochrome, are being helped up from below on both sides of the mural. Shades on the solar left side are tinted gold, and shades on the lunar right side are appropriately tinted silver. The motto of the French Revolution, Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité, or La Mort, liberty, equality, brotherhood, or death, surprisingly maps to much of the remaining symbolism. Souls being lifted with ropes up into the light are gaining their liberty. The scene in the upper left shows a group of people weighing grain, presumably to distribute it with equality. The party in the 2 panels surrounding the Vesica Pisces illustrates brotherhood, with all types of people and children happily united holding cyan ribbons and UN flags. Those souls who died in the war are lining up and entering the starry door of death behind the phoenix. La Mort was later dropped from the revolutionary motto because it reminded people too much of the Reign of Terror. The tricolor flag of the French Republic symbolizes the 3-term motto, Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité. The scene in the upper right shows scientists investigating the macrocosm and microcosm with telescope and microscope. The 2 upper panels hold a political message, with the depiction of people painting, planting, designing, playing music, singing, writing, and dancing. I think the implication is humanity may enjoy these higher pleasures after war has been transformed like a phoenix into peace through the agency of the United Nations. The symbolism in the mural contains Judeo-Christian, Masonic, French Revolutionary, and ancient Egyptian imagery that became apparent only under careful analysis. The mural is more than a small decorative element. It dominates the Security Council chamber. Therefore, I think the choice of symbolism embedded in the mural tells us something about the character of the United Nations itself. I find the hidden connections to Masons and Egypt most provocative.